What's good, YouTube, man? Today, coming at you with a video, we're gonna be talking about was Light Yagami the good guy in Death Note, and was L and the Task Force were they the villain? Now, I know obviously the story tells you that hey, Light was wrong, killing is wrong, and that's morally that's correct, right? But what's funny is like at the very beginning of the series, Light is in the classroom back when he's still a student. He's literally thinking about it. He's like, how would the people in the world, react to Kira? And like it shows like a little girl standing up saying like killing people is wrong, blah blah blah. Which like I said, morally that is correct. That's the correct answer to give. But what happens is the story kind of leads you on the fact that the world is getting better by Light's actions. And now you could argue one thing that they're gonna argue is, and that L brings up is like this is like they're leading through fear, you know, and they don't hide that fact, right? They make it known that yes, they are in fear of Kira. They're in fear that if they fuck up, they do something wrong, they're gonna die. Now, is this the correct way to go about things? It's up to you, your personal opinion. But one way to interpret it is that hey, as long as you know you're a good person, you're not doing anything crazy, you're not breaking morality laws, stuff like that, right? Because Light wasn't just out here killing people just for shoplifting, right? He wasn't killing a person that lied or committed fraud and like that. It was just like really like heinous crimes like murder, rape. That was just like the main two that they always harped on. But it's like people that were like he would target people that are in jail already and that are already like up for death row or like oh they got off on a technicality and stuff like that. And now, granted, this is not to argue what I think is right or wrong and how to handle things, right? But the story leads you to believe that hey, is Light so bad when the world we are seeing is actually getting better, is improving? So it just leads you to really think it's like, hey, is all this like work that L and then eventually Near and Mello doing, is it actually the right thing to do? And if we just fast forward a little bit to the part two, I mean, people call it, I call it part two, and a lot of people refer to part two, but basically after L passes, then we go into Mello and Near. Mello does illegal things to make the greater good. Listen to what I said. Mello does illegal things. He is literally a part of a crime syndicate to do the better thing, right? Now, granted, that's not all Mello is a part of the crime syndicate for. It's not like he's like some super justice hero and just super morally gray or anything like that. But he still does illegal things in the hope of doing the right thing. And and you ask, how does that make him any different from what Hill is doing? I mean, from what Light is doing. Well, Mello and the people he was with killed people that probably didn't deserve it, right? Like, I mean, Light's father died because of Mello. You can argue that it was because of Light, but the one pulling the trigger was Mello and his people. So you can't really argue. It's like, okay. And Near didn't do as much. Like he did some shady things, right? But he piggybacked. The only reason he was able to make he gives contributions to Mello. If he didn't have Mello doing the illegal, dirty things, then he probably would have lost the light. And the story makes a point. It kind of glosses over that fact because they don't really highlight it. Because I mean, at that point in the story, I feel like the writing had went down, dropped down a bit after Light died or after L died. I feel like the story just took a little bit of a nosedive, but that's up for a different conversation, another video, another day. But the story kind of just skims past it. It's just like, uh, it's cool. We're trying to get to the we gotta do the bad thing to catch the even worse villain, right? But L or Light started off doing the bad thing to get to the good result, but he was persecuted for that, right? And not to say Mello wasn't persecuted, right? Because I mean, him and his people all died, right? But it's just the fact that the story kind of just harps on like, oh, light is bad, light is bad, light is bad. But then underlining factors tell you what he's doing for the world is good. And then they show you part of his downfall is somebody else doing bad. So it's just like you come to the realization is like maybe light isn't so bad, and maybe what L, Near, and Mello are doing is not, is not the right thing to do, right? Maybe they're helping uphold a tainted world. And that's getting into semantics, getting into your view on the world, but you can say that an imperfect world is the beauty of the world. But then what light was doing can be viewed at as a positive, is a beautiful thing to do in itself. And who's to say, okay, he gets rid of, majority of the crime, and people are scared to commit crimes, and the world is just super peaceful. But I've seen extremist people be like, oh well, once light gets done killing all the people that have, you know, been like the heinous criminals, he start targeting the lesser criminals. Like he's gonna start getting at the shoplifters and like the fraud and jaywalkers, stuff like that. And I just don't think it would have got to that point because the how L was or Light was operating, which I keep saying L because he played L as well, right? But the way he started operating in part two is he wasn't so focused on the crime portion as much anymore. He still killed criminals, right? But he wasn't like it wasn't like a full blown like, oh shit, bro, I gotta, oh shoot, I'm running low on criminals, man. We gotta start taking people out, man. Now I do know once he started having his proxies take over, like Mikami and Misa, they were targeting people that didn't always fit the code, right? And if y'all watch Dexter at all, the code, I recently had watched Dexter, and it's kind of similar, with a guy killing for the greater good, right? He's a serial killer hunting other bad people. So, but he lives by a code, and that's what I feel like Light Stress says. He lived by a type of code. He didn't throw it out there as much as like say a Dexter did, but he didn't make a point to target those that are like obviously those that are innocent and those people that are like just petty criminals. You know what I'm saying? But not to say he was a saint, right? He still killed innocent people. Like he killed Ray Pinber's wife, you know. But that's like in self-preservation, so that's a little bit different. That's not judging Kira as like Kira. That's judging Light trying to keep himself safe, trying to keep himself alive, type of deal. Which, you know, that's another discussion. But I just feel like there's a world you can argue that Light was the good guy and the police were the bad guy. And not to harp too much on the real life, but there are people out there that believe, this group of people are the good people and the police are the bad people. You know, who's to say who's right, right? But obviously, however you feel is however you feel. But that's just like the way you can look at things is like, okay, Light did some shady stuff, right? He did bad things. He killed innocent people, and he was creating a world that's living by fear and like not knowing what's gonna happen when you next day you wake up. But the good side about it is like if you knew you were a good person, you knew you had nothing to worry about, you know. And then also as time would have progressed, you would have known, hey, I'm gonna wake up today. I know there's pretty much a 0% chance that I will get murdered for anything, and it's just like you think about it and you're like, okay, the police were trying so hard, they exhausted so many resources, they didn't even care about sometimes they didn't even care about other things, And perfect example is the Yotsuba group. They literally were hearing like they were spying on the Yotsuba group, and these people were doing like these people are more than shady. I mean, I guarantee you, if you looked into it deeper, you can see that they're doing like they're committing like committing some type of fraud. You know, they're scamming some type of way. You know, exploiting, manipulating, and you know, just doing shady business deals and stuff like that. But they didn't care about that, right? Because they wanted the main thing, right? They wanted the main fish, which is they wanted the Death Note, which at the time they didn't know it was the Death Note, but you know that's what they wanted. They wanted the killer. They overlooked the other crimes. So there's, like I said, there's that world where you're like, okay, the police were doing their job, right? And they were like, you know, you can't fault them for doing their job. But at the same time, they overlooked other crimes merely because it was for the greater good. It helped them catch the greater good, right? And I just want to hammer it home, at, you know, towards the end of this video, is Near stated that if Mello hadn't been helping him, like not cohesively, you know, like obviously they weren't plotting together, but if Mello hadn't been doing his things, knowing that it's going to help Near wouldn't have succeeded, and him and the rest of the task force most likely would have died. You know, so it's just the fact that they pick and choose when wrong is wrong and right is right. And that's just one thing you gotta look at. Is like, granted, obviously, if we're all looking at it morally, right, that what Light was doing was not the right way to go about things. But you can also look at play devil's advocate and look at it the other way as well. As like, hey, the police force, you know, didn't do everything the right way either, right? They weren't all morally correct. And there's also that theory that Near tampered with the notebook to basically cause Mikami to, you know, go crazy and Light die and stuff like that, right? But you know, that's a theory. I don't know if they're. I'm pretty sure. I remember watching something about them trying to debunk that or them trying to prove it. But regardless of the case, I wouldn't put it past, you know, past Near to do something like that, right? He had every chance to do it, right? So, but let me know what y'all think, man. Was there a world, or did you kind of like agree, kind of like with like, you know, in a sense? Because I agree with them in a sense, but obviously like there's levels to it, right? I don't agree with like mass genocide, right? But like I do believe if you're in that position and you have the power to like go after the most heinous criminals in the world, then go for it, you know? But at the same time, it's like, you don't get to play God, and that's kind of what Light started to see himself as. Light started to see himself as God. I mean, that's it wasn't even at start to see. He claimed himself as God, literally like episode 2, episode 3. So it's just like you gotta just really take a step back and be like, was he wrong? Probably so, but there is a world where he could be right. But man, y'all like the video, comment, subscribe, man. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.